Villanova goes into the Fiserv Forum, loses to Marquette 87-74. I believe that final score was. Cam Jones played well. I would say that this Marquette team has bounced back well from their home loss to Xavier, which was, I believe that was on Saturday, correct? What do you make of Marquette? What do you make of the way that the Big East is playing out? It's basically Marquette and St. John's at the top right now. Is Creighton getting close there? I am of the opinion that until Liam McNeely gets back, you cannot have UConn in the conversation for the best team in the Big East. Where do you
Is St. John's in there?
Yes.
They have to be in the conversation today.
I said I did. Right. I said Marquette and St.
Yeah,
John's.
yeah. I think that they have to. I mean, all three of those, I think, are like they're different in how they play, but they're all kind of similar in a sense of like, are they're Sweet 16 teams? Maybe they get to an Elite Eight. I don't see them really getting to a Final Four unless things break in the bracket, right? Like with matchups and things of that nature. Again, St. John's about as tough as it gets defensively. UConn, we'll see with McNeely when he comes back. They're going to be a different team. We know that. He makes them a different team. And Marquette, they played over their head, I think, early in the season. And again, I think a big part of that was they had everybody back. Everybody back. Knew their roles. Knew their teammates. Shaka knew them. Mm-hmm. They play hard as shit. Like, they defend. We know that. Cam Jones was incredible. And I also think, he's slowed down. He's not shooting the three well at all over the last probably 5, 6, 7 games. So, he was due to come down to earth a little bit because he had so much on his plate. I think all three of them, you could honestly make a case for all three. And then there's a gap to me to Creighton. I think there's a gap.
Interesting.
I do. I still think there's a gap. They played great, but I think they're missing that third guy. They're missing that third guy. I mean, when McNeely comes back, UConn's going to be much better. They're going to be much better. He's just a connector. He's a connector.
He is.
He does everything.
He was their best player when he went down with the injury, right? And I think that they will be better than they are right now because I think right now without him,
significantly better.
They
can barely beat Butler right now.
They're missing a lot without him, right? It's twofold. On the one hand, he is the second best defensive rebounder on that team. The issue that UConn has is always going to be on the defense.
He's like the second best everything on that team, I feel like.
Yeah, he's their best player. He's the best player.
He just does everything well.
Part of it is the defensive end, like he helps you end possessions, right? And they do not. I was talking about this with someone today. The issue with UConn on that end of the floor is the simple lack of elite defensive players.
Where they've had him over the last 2 years, elite, like Andre Jackson, as elite as it gets, right? Donovan Clingan, as elite as they've had two of the most dominant defensive players in the country over the last 2 years, maybe the two. I mean, there.
Yeah, you lose the rim protection with Donovan Clingan, so he erases a lot of mistakes. Yep. You lose the guy that can guard the top of the scouting report in Steph Castle, which means everyone's got to move up a spot. You lose size on the perimeter. It's a lot easier to funnel somebody to where you want them to go when you're 6'3", 220-pound, 23-year-old Cam Spencer than when you're 6'1", 185, 20-year-old solo ball, right? All of that stuff's an issue. All of that stuff's a problem. On the offensive end of the floor, though, like they go from being maybe the best offensive team in the country, one of the top 3, I would say, with McNeely, to good, but not good enough to be able to consistently win you games against good teams, because they have to be almost perfect offensively with some of their defensive issues. And they can get close to it when they have McNeely there because he is their second creator. Right now, Hassan Diarra is the only guy that makes things easy for anybody else offensively.
And he's been fantastic.
He has.
But he needs more around him.
But the workload that's getting put on him is too much. Like what teams are doing defensively now is they are completely overplaying all the off-ball action. We heard Hurley complain about in the press conference, and he is 100% correct that all of the teams, what they do is get really, really physical with UConn's guards and UConn wings and make it hard for them to run off of that off-ball action and run off of those screens, right? Creighton did it by forcing you to go over and curl, right? What Providence did and what Butler did was it's called top locking. They don't let you go over the screen. They make you go under in it and changes the angle. But essentially what happens is they kind of take away all the stuff on the outside and they just dare Hassan Diarra to beat you with ball screens and play 2-on-1 in the lane. And that's tough. And part of it is, Alex Caravan's not a go-to guy. He's just not.
They don't have a go-to guy.
They
don't have one.
They do, and he's got an ankle injury right now.
He's a go-to guy in a different sense, though. Mm-hmm. He's not a guy you just say, like, hey, give him the ball, go make a play, like go get a basket. That's not him. He can do it.
What they can do with
that's
McNeely,
not his biggest strength.
Yeah, what they do with McNeely is they put him in all of the DHOs and they put him in the curls and they put him in the ball screens and what happens is when you get him in those 2-on-1 situations against
he'll
the drop,
make a play.
He makes the right decision. He can hit that floater, and he's 6'7".
He's awesome, but again, you look at everything last year at every position. They were better. Mm-hmm. They're better at every position, pretty much.
All right, let's circle this back to Marquette and I guess St. John's, because I think those are probably the two best teams in the conference right now. You got to pick one of them to be the team that you think can win the conference
Marquette,
and make the deepest run.
Yeah, Marquette.
So
St. John's can't shoot. They can't shoot. How can you make a deep run if you can't shoot? How? Tell me.
Because
you're going to hold everybody in the 60s
because of what they can do. St. John's can win games outside of the 60s because of what their press can do to you and the way that they can turn the ball over and get easy. So the way that they make up for the fact that they don't make a lot of threes is they get to the offensive glass, and more importantly, they make life a living hell for you trying to get the ball over half court. And when they get turnovers there, they turn into layups. So a lot of their possessions are just like they're a guaranteed 2 points almost. And the other part of it is
it's just hard to win games when you're shooting 3 for 17 every night from 3.
It is. And if there's one coach in the country that I think could find a way to figure it out, it's Rick Pitino. My bigger concern is that.
But isn't the best coach in the country Dan Hurley?
My biggest concern is that
he didn't say that.
I don't think that you have a consistent effort from Kadari Richmond on a night-by-night basis. And if you got the Kadari that we get like the last 10 minutes against Xavier, you get that Kadari, then for 40 minutes a game, then you have a team that I think can cause real problems. You get Devin Smith back, who is one of their better shooters, and you got a team that can cause some real problems.
I just feel like, again, Marquette, you got to be able to shoot to go deep in the tournament. You're not winning 4 straight if you're shooting like that. And St. John's this was an issue in the preseason, and it's been validated. You know what I mean? Sometimes in the preseason, you're like, hey, I don't know if they can shoot it. And then they end up proving you wrong, at least for a stretch. Mm-hmm. St. John's hasn't proven us wrong for any stretch. Like, they are what we thought they were, and they've continued to be what we thought they were. And I don't see that changing. So can they – listen, if they can make get to the Sweet 16, they should be celebrating in Queens. I mean, Rick Pitino's got them in year 2. He's got them nationally relevant now. In year 3, trust me, they'll be better. He'll get – because remember last year, what did he have? Brought in Ivy League, guys that were skilled but not athletic, not that tough.
You know what's great about it too is – and we said this – there was like a week span when Georgetown hired Ed Cooley and St. John's hired Rick Pitino, and we were like, listen, you have 2 programs in 2 of the biggest and most important cities in the Big East and on the Eastern Seaboard, and they now have guys that are proven that they can win, can turn it quickly, and are going to make those programs relevant again. Yes. And Ed's not quite moving as fast as Rick is, but I mean, they had 15,000 in the Capital One Center when UConn was there, right? They have a legitimate home court now, which is not something that was the case at any point in like the last 8 years. St. John's at the Garden, like, it's alive, man. Yeah. Pitino has completely reinvigorated that fan base. Yep. And if you know anything about New York fans, they're out of their minds. They're passionate, and they will show up. And he's getting like 16,000 there for St.